Hi, I'm Father Jim Forson, and I'd like to share with you a few reflections on the gospel of this third Sunday of Advent. You know, in the gospel today, we hear what we've been hearing for the last several weeks, that the Lord is returning and we need to be prepared for that return. Well, I got news for you. I live here in Los Angeles, right next to the airport, and the other day I was driving home and the traffic was so bad. I'm not exaggerating. It took me almost 20 minutes to go a mile and a half. It was nuts. So if Jesus is planning on returning, he better not come through LAX because he ain't getting in. So we hear the Lord is returning, and we have to prepare for that. And that was the argumentation that was taking place between John the Baptist and the representatives that the Pharisees had sent to cross-examine him, because they were suspicious of John. They didn't know exactly what he was all about and who was he to be out there in the desert preaching and drawing a whole group of people to himself and telling them how to live. And so they sent out their representatives to say basically, who are you anyway? Are you the Messiah? John's response was, no, I'm not the Messiah. Well, then, are you Elijah? Because common Jewish thought was that Elijah would appear before the Messiah would arrive. And his answer was, no, I'm not Elijah. I'm not one of the prophets. Then who are you? And John reached into Isaiah's prophecies and said, I am a voice calling out, prepare the way of the Lord. Because that's how John saw himself. He was responsible for preparing that path into people's hearts for the Lord to walk upon. No hills, no valleys, no potholes, but to make it smooth so that Jesus could more easily enter into the heart of mankind, enter into the heart of people. That was John's role, and it is ours. We are those modern-day John the Baptists, and we must prepare the way of the Lord. And how do we do that? Well, maybe like this. You know, I don't know if it's me, if I'm getting too sensitive to this kind of stuff, but it just seems like the world is dark and getting darker. Every time I turn on the news, there's just terrible war going on and the suffering of people. And with that war comes all of the pain that comes from disease and hunger, and it's overwhelming. And it seems like the darkness is just closing in, and our leaders are so violent with one another, and no sense of wanting to be able to try to resolve things. And I just wonder, are we getting worse? And not just the darkness on the outside, but there can be darkness within people too. Haven't we all met some people that they struggle terribly with depression, or they're struggling against difficulties emotionally or physically, and they're like they're living in a darkness. So how do we prepare a way for the Lord through that darkness? Well, it first begins with us believing what it says in John's Gospel, that when the light entered into the world, the darkness did not stand a chance. And where there is light, there can be no darkness. It is so important for us to really believe that goodness is more powerful than evil, and that mercy and forgiveness will overcome any kind of hatred. We have to firmly believe that message, that when Christ has entered into this world has been completely transformed, and little by little by little, this world is returning into the type of world it was when God first created it. We have to be people of the light that believe in the power of the light, the power of goodness. And then, believing that, we then proclaim it. And how? Well, I think all of us must know somebody who's struggling right now. All of us might must know somebody who's, I don't know, dealing with the aftermath of a death, or maybe they have some problems physically or emotionally, or who knows what. But I think all of us must know somebody that the darkness is kind of closing in on a little bit, or they're having those battles. And what we are called to do, we are called to bring joy into their lives. We are agents of joy, ministers of joy. And that's what we must do. We have to bring goodness into their lives, and some sort of compassion into their lives. And all of us can do that. I invite all of us right now to think of one person in my life, one person that I know in my home, my neighborhood, where I work, that could really use that touch of joy. A pat on the back, an attaboy or an attagirl, a letter, a note, a Christmas card, or just a little present or something that we know will lift up their spirits. You know, the staff here at the parish, we had a Secret Santa, and we had to go out and buy a gift, whatever, and I was in the store at CVS, and I saw this Santa Claus with this hideous smile on its face. Oh, it looked just ugly. And it was seated on a motorcycle, for God's sakes. And there were sacks of toys all around it on each side, and some kind of weird animal in the front. And it was hideous. And I bought it because the other priest in my house, Father Tim McGowan, loves motorcycles. And I bought this for him, and it was horrible, and he loved it. And it's just a ridiculous thing that we do, but it can bring joy. And all of us can do something simple for somebody else and bring joy into their life. So, in this last week of Advent, and this coming Sunday is the fourth Sunday of Advent, and then Sunday afternoon, it's Christmas. We don't have much time. So let us dedicate ourselves in this last week to one person we know in our lives that could really use joy. And this week, bring joy.